Kama tova midah. This is a great item. We're talking about generosity over here. Generosity, you have to understand, it is a character trait that if you have this character trait, develop it. Some people are extremely generous. I know people like that. And again, generosity means in many, many ways. You can be generous with food. You can be generous with a lot of things, like money. You can be generous with helping someone, with learning the Gemara. There's a lot of things. Generosity is in a whole. It's very, very vague to say, but a person is generous, generous. So he says like this. He says, how great it is to be a generous person. Tov l'shamayim v'tov l'briyot. It's good, the heavens, and it's good for the people around here. Why? He says, not only that, it's also good for him and it's good for others. When you become a generous person, people automatically love you for that. Now, what I mean is, I don't want you to think that it's, people love you for that. Like, you're generous with chesed. Give me an example, generous with chesed. You know, how many times where I'm sure you got a ride with somebody and literally it was like you live 4 houses in, let's say, or 5 houses in your block. And you'll tell the guy, no, just drive me over the corner. It's totally fine. I'll walk like a quarter of a block. He says, what, are you crazy? I'm not letting you walk at all. Come, I'll take you. Shh. And he takes you door to door. How good do you feel? You feel respected. You feel nice. You feel good. That's because the person that was taking you, he was one of the things. Of course, one of the things is that he's generous. He's a generous type. Now, I'm not telling you to do that every time. It could be that you're in a rush and you have to go drive on the corner. I'm not saying that. But I'm just trying to show you a point where when a person is generous, not only with his showing of helping others, he gets a good name and people love him, and it's good for himself. He writes over here, it says, Tov la'atzmo. It's easy and good for himself. He becomes a generous human being, and that's Borei Olam. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is nadiv. He's a nadiv. He's a nadvan. He just gives and gives and gives and gives and gives. And sometimes a person is not even befitting for the giving. It doesn't make a difference. Hashem says, okay, this is what you're going to get anyway. You know, because he says, because I'm generous. טוב לעולם הזה וטוב לעולם הבא, וזו מתת אלוקים היא, וטבע היא באנוש, ויש בנפשו וטבע יעש בסדר גדול, ויש היכולה שאין אדם שדיב לבחול, להוציא הצעות לעצמו, או חיות נפשו. He says, but again, you have to be the balance. Some people are not balanced, and they'll literally give away everything that they own. Oh, you need this, oh, you need that, oh, you need this, and that. You gotta be in balance as well. So you gotta be careful. And he writes, Ashrei HaGever, it says, Asher chano Hashem teva tov. Praiseworthy is a person that Hashem gave him that good nature. Of course, what he means to say, to understand it and to build it up. To build it up. Right? Now, ביד האיש על ידי שכלו, על ידי שכיתה בלימוד מוסר, על ידי מלחמת הדין התגבול, יכול להפוך את תפור, להחליף רע בטוב, ופומצא לעגלה. He says, now, let's say a person, sometimes you have a person that's cheap. Sometimes you have a person that's cheap. I know a person that they told me one time, he tells me straight up, he says, I am cheap, there's that. He can't spend. It's just very hard for him. He can't give. You got to break that. You got to break that. Now, how do you break that trait? There's a very famous question. If you have $100 to give, it's a tzedakah. Right? I'll give you an example. It says you have to work that muscle. The muscle of giving. It's a muscle. You're giving. You give $1. The next day, I'm going to give more. I'm going to give more. Let your hand be able to just take out and give. I'm going to give $1. Here's $1. I'm giving. You set your mind, no matter what, I'm going to have dollars with me. I'm going to always just give. You build that power and that muscle of giving. And now, I'm going to tell you another exercise, and you could just think that Hashem will reward you with more because there's a thing every year, the more you give, the more you get. It's just an amazing concept. It's an amazing thing. And I'm being very serious with this. I'll tell you a crazy story. I told you this personally, and I have this, I think I have it also recorded also on one of my classes called Con Edison. I'll never forget, I got a phone call late at night. It was a friend of mine. And he called me on a bad time. I was like, I'm in a rush. You need anything? Is that? It's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm in a rush. I gotta go home. I'm dead tired. I need to act for life. It's like, no. Quick question. So what? He tells me, he pulls out like a Con Edison bill that he owes like a few $1,000s, and he's like, I need this money tonight. And I remember I was Nadvan that night. I gave him the money that night. And I wasn't thinking. There was no thinking, oh, is it? Just take it. And that week, I got a bill from Con Edison. But when I opened it up, it wasn't a bill. It was a check in my name for almost the same exact amount, more than what I gave my friend. And it was the most amazing thing, because they said, we owe you money because you overpaid on 1 time, 2 times, 3 times before, because like an automatic type of thing. You paid extra, here's it back. I'm like, whoa. Because the more you help, Hashem says, you want more to help, I'll give you more to help. Again, so that we're going to review 2 things. It's very important to be a giver. And we always want to constantly give. Now, what do? You got to exercise that giving. How do you exercise? Two examples. One example is where you just give, make sure your hand is going to give, I'm going to give. And the second exercise is to motivate yourself. Oh, if I give, the more you give, the more you get. The more you give, the more you get. No matter what, this will be motivation in order to always be generous.